This is Place Bellecour, which is the main meeting point in the centre of Lyon. There are lots of electric scooters all over Lyon. On the hill is Fouvier, a cathedral. Today there was a National Bowls Championship going on. There are lots of famous statues of important people in French history, such as this one of Louis XIV. This is a particularly beautiful piece of artwork. Place Bellecour is a focus for tourists. This is the National Bowls Championship. And my friend, who I stayed with, this is close to Place Bellecour, in part of the old town. This is the Stock Exchange, a beautiful building. This is an important church in the old town, and the square outside often has fêtes such as this one. There are lots of lovely pavement cafes walking through the old town, and lots of interesting shops selling mainly tourist things, but interesting nonetheless. Next we visited the Silk Museum, or Maison de Canuts. Canuts was the name given to the silk workers of Lyon. The old silk making machinery and explanations were set out throughout the museum, with interesting descriptions of how it had improved over the many years. The silk was manufactured in accordance with fine patterns that were recorded in books. The buildings where the silk was made had very high ceilings and very large windows to let the light in. These are now quite sought after because of the airy nature of the interiors. Looms also span other materials such as cotton, viscose, nylon and linen. It all came from the silkworms who were bred to generate the silk. Finally, in the shop you could buy examples of the silk. And this is the Canut wall, which is a remarkable painting updated every 10 years to reflect the changes in the individuals who are actually depicted in it. From a distance you're easily going to be fooled into thinking it's real, and it's only when you look closely that you realise how cleverly this has been painted. Some parts are better than others, however. 3D effect on the left is particularly good, but the area in the centre quickly reveals itself. But if you look from the bottom, you can see how clever it is that it's all been painted to look three-dimensionally on a flat wall, which originally looked simply like this. This is Fouvia that we saw before, which is the large cathedral on the top, with a fantastic and breathtaking view of Lyon stretched out below it. And in the distance you can see past the Parc Dieu skyscrapers, the Alps, still with snow on the mountains. This is the area called La Confluence, originally an industrial area that's now been developed with lots of ultra-modern residential flats and offices. These are some of the best I've seen. So it's a very busy industrial area, as well as having very expensive offices and very expensive residential flats. The network of trams goes straight into the centre, and the other attraction at the end of the confluence is the most amazing science fiction style museum, which, as you can see from these pictures, is pretty groundbreaking and seems to be suspended above the ground like a visiting spaceship. Inside it there's a limited collection of artifacts showing the history of mankind, and it's really the building itself and the interior that is the star of the show. I wasn't allowed to film inside and was rapidly stopped as I was filming this, which is a shame. Now the visit. First we went to a plastics museum out in the Jura, which possibly wasn't something that you would normally go to, but it was quite interesting, showing how the area was originally known for producing combs, and these were made from ivory and wood and were very skilled. The original knit combs were on display, as well as hair accessories made from bone or from wood or from ivory or from mother of pearl, as you can see here. But then technology moved on and materials like Bakelite and plastic started to be used. In particular, there were exhibits of sunglasses and also some interesting 1970s furniture. The scenery of the Jura is quite spectacular, as you can see. Here we can see in the distance a nuclear power station, and surprisingly, nuclear power is a very important part of the generation of energy in France. Then we visited an amazing restaurant on a beautiful lake. Next it was back on the coach with some more spectacular views. Then the next stop was an abbey, which, to be honest, I wasn't that interested in, having seen many abbeys and many churches. The surrounding buildings I thought were much more interesting. A typical French set of buildings. Next stop, an unusual one again, a museum dedicated to firefighting, where we were given a detailed explanation of the history of fire engines in the area. Some a bit more interesting than other bits, including this amazing ladder. I think I'd be terrified going down that. And various other firefighting uniforms. A whole series of equipment, hats, pumps, and unusual pieces of machinery. And of course, a collection of helmets. Finally, the Auberge des Aqueducts, where we had a nice meal, and then we were given a tour of one of the many Roman aqueducts that were created to give water to the incredibly important Roman town that used to exist on the site of Lyon. The way in which these were constructed was quite remarkable, and the engineering prowess of creating aqueducts that went perhaps for 20, 30 or 40 miles and reliably carried water from mountains into the centre is quite astonishing. It's hard to believe that they were able to calculate and construct these things with such precision. And in fact, this aqueduct then led all the way across a valley through an intriguing siphon system to Lyon in the distance.